Okay.
5 years passed since the release of Donkey Kong Country, and Rare became one of the most respected and exemplary game developers in the world. With Nintendo owning 49% of the company, Rare was the workhorse of the Nintendo 64, pumping out instant classics at an astounding pace. But after we sent WizPig packing, rescued Tootie, and inexplicably became James Bond fans, one question remained. Where was Donkey Kong? The character that launched Rare into the stratosphere hadn't starred in a game in years. On New Year's Day 1999, Nintendo released this image online, and our collective jaws hit the collective floor. The game had been rumored for ages, and at last, Donkey Kong 64 was on its way. By the fall, we were swept up in an incredibly healthy marketing campaign, quenching our thirst with a refreshing DK64 Dr. Pepper, gorging ourselves on almost edible DK64 Lunchables, and anxiously awaiting November 24th, 1999. Nintendo even sent out a promotional videotape, just like they'd done with DKC. The game looked absolutely amazing, and when Nintendo rolled out a demo kiosk to stores a few weeks before release, it played just as good as it looked. The demo showed off 2 epic boss fights and an exhilarating 3D upgrade of the iconic minecart stage.
So it's the same old DK,
only in 3D.
Oh yes, the hype machine was firing on all cylinders. At last, the day arrived. I got my hands on that banana yellow cartridge, I swapped in the N64 expansion pack, I flipped the power switch. I sat on the edge of my seat.
Here we go.
What?
This Kong has a funny face.
What?
This Kong's one hell of a guy.
What?
Come on, Cranky, take it to the fridge.
This is the DK rap. It's goofy, it's campy, it's awful, it's the most hilarious, farcical game intro of all time. Rare had absolutely mastered character expression and animation by this point. It's also a great little preview of each character's personality and abilities. Like, take Diddy for instance. He started out as a wannabe hero, proved himself in solo adventures, became a star in his own right, and now he's almost too cocky. He shares the spotlight with 3 new characters. Chunky, who has the body of a brute and the disposition of a feather, Tiny, a flower power child of the 90s, and Lanky, who's just as absurd as the DK rap itself, and who deserves every bit of adoration the internet gives him. He's a great addition to the cast, and he's certainly more distinct than Tiny and Chunky, who are fairly blatant XPs of Dixie and Kitty respectively. I mean, they're literally related. Early on, Rare decided, for some reason, that the only returning characters would be those who debuted in the original Donkey Kong Country. As development went on, they abandoned that, but by that time the playable cast had been solidified. I honestly kinda hated this when I was a kid. It would have been awesome to see Dixie in 3D, and Kitty would have also been present. You know, on second thought, Tiny and Chunky are fine. Of course, DK64 also finally returned the eponymous Kong to playable status. Donkey Kong himself is absolutely on point, from his animations to his model to his personality to even his voice.
Okay.
And while the more animalistic noises he makes nowadays are fine, this to me is the definitive Donkey Kong. Well, aside from those few instances early in the game, where on-screen dialogue paints him as a Neanderthal. That was just weird. But hey, speaking of, let's get into the game proper. At the beginning of DKC, you busted out of DK's treehouse and were thrust right into the heart of the game design. Here's how DK64 goes. You watch the story, lumber out of the treehouse, go to Cranky's new lab, learn you'll need to complete a tutorial, learn to swim, learn to throw barrels, learn to throw oranges, learn to swing from vines, drink a potion, learn to ground pound, hit a switch, learn about warpaths, meet Kay Lumsey, watch a cutscene, try and fail to jump on a naughty, because really, why would jumping on enemies do anything? Actually get to the first level, wander around, buy a coconut gun from Funky, find Diddy in a cage. The cage is locked by 3 targets that fade into existence. See you shoot a target, shoot another target, fail to shoot a target because draw distance, unintuitively find an angle that lets you shoot a target, rescue Diddy, climb all the way back up to where he was, and finally, triumphantly collect a golden banana. I was no longer on the edge of my seat. But whatever. You know, this isn't Donkey Kong Country 64. If Rare wanted to make a 3D collection platformer instead of a kinetic 2D platformer, that's fine. Here's the thing, though. 4 hours later, you might be back in Jungle Japes, wandering around as Tiny Kong, who, remember, is just one of your 5 playable characters. You'll start to head down a tunnel, only to see, hey, a trail of green bananas. Now if they were purple, Tiny could collect them. But duh, of course. Only Chunky gets to collect green things. In fact, every Kong has a litany of tchotchke crap that only they can collect. You try to hit the select button to change Kongs, but oh no, the N64 controller doesn't have a select button. Instead, you'll need to make your way back to the tag barrel, where you'll switch to Chunky, quad down the tunnel, collect those bananas, and when you finally get to the end, what do you find but a locked gate that can only be opened with the gun that shoots feathers, which only Tiny Kong gets to fire? By the time you switch back to her, it's taken you 3 minutes of gameplay to go down a tunnel and open a gate. This is the whole game. Gargantuan worlds devoid of style or substance, linked by dark, boring hallways, filled with extremely arbitrary switches and barrels and buttons. You know what? I take it back. This had no business being a Collect-a-Thon. It could have been Nintendo's answer to Crash Bandicoot or Sonic Adventure, a fast-paced, linear 3D platformer. Instead, it's another iteration on the Mario 64 formula, but it doesn't do anything new. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts gets so much hate for not being what people wanted out of a Banjo game. But is DK64 really how we wanted a 3D Donkey Kong to turn out? Heck, I'd argue that Nuts and Bolts is at least true to the spirit of Banjo. But this is not a Donkey Kong game. It's an ever-compounding series of chores. It's an interactive scavenger hunt, where the reward for finding stuff is always more stuff to find. It's monotonous, it's convoluted, it's tedious.
Wow, so it's the same old DK.
Only in 3D.
No, it isn't! The demo kiosk and even a lot of the marketing material obfuscated the true nature of Donkey Kong 64. Remember? 2 epic boss battles and that wonderful minecart minigame. This, I think, is representative of the game Rare wanted to make. This is what I would think of as a Donkey Kong game. Graphically amazing, fast-paced, and fun. Instead, DK64 feels like Rare took the remnants of stuff they didn't use in Banjo-Kazooie, turned up the scale of the world to an uncomfortable degree, and pasted Donkey Kong and Friends over it. This stage design sucks next to Banjo, but the tone and atmosphere are skewed so far in that direction, and it's made even more obvious since Grant Kirkhope provided the soundtrack for both games. And don't get me wrong, the soundtrack's great to listen to, and Grant is a musical genius in his own right, but there's no getting away from it. This just is Banjo-Kazooie music. And by the way, I don't mean that literally. The music that's been playing is from DK64, but you would never know that. Maybe Rare didn't have time to make a game that was less Banjo and more Donkey Kong, but even if that was the case, one simple thing could have made a difference. You needed to be able to switch characters at any time. Why do we need a tag barrel? I know the game would have chugged with all the playable Kongs on screen, but Donkey Kong Land couldn't display more than one character either, so it just threw the other into the HUD, and it still let you swap. That would have been great! If you could tag in any time, the game would become so much more palatable. I mean, it still wouldn't really feel like a Donkey Kong game, but at least you wouldn't have to scour every single enormous stage 5 times. Now maybe you disagree, maybe you enjoyed it. I know the game has its fans, and assuming any of them are still here, I'd never call anyone out for having fun wrong. To be honest, I didn't find it nearly this obnoxious in 1999. I mean, I didn't love it either, but it was okay. Here in 2015, I didn't expect to suddenly adore it, but I was surprised by just how much of a struggle it was. I had to make myself play it, and that sucks because I still want so badly to like it. There are great things about it, little morsels of brilliance. I love the story. I love the sense of character growth, and the way the world has changed since the trilogy. I love the fact that the arcade version of Donkey Kong is hidden in Frantic Factory. And I mean the actual arcade version, not the neutered NES port that Nintendo releases on everything. Rare's first game, Jetpack, is in there too, but I know I'm never going to unlock it. Rare's Donkey Kong series was all about character, atmosphere, and crisp gameplay. DK64 set the bar on character, but everything else isn't just derivative of a better game, it's half-baked in its own right. This is video game busy work, a slog of an adventure that failed to live up to its own hype, failed to live up to Rare standards, and failed in the worst way a video game can fail. It wasn't fun. Donkey Kong 64 didn't kill the 3D platformer, but it certainly made Collect-a-Thon a bad word. Despite all my criticism though, DK64 was flawed in execution, not in concept. The Donkey Kong series, with its focus on distinct characters and cohesive world building, could make for a fantastic 3D Collect-a-Thon platformer. And at the turn of the millennium, it seemed inevitable that Rare would get another shot. I mean, even they knew it. After all, Rare was Nintendo's most crucial developer, and a brand new Nintendo console, codenamed Dolphin, was on the horizon. Sure, DK64 was a bit of a misstep, but now that he was back, Donkey Kong's future seemed brighter than ever. Then Rare was bought by Microsoft, and the darkest period in the history of the franchise began.